is for you exclusively. If God has put your name on it, it is yours, and no one can come along and take it away. You are now listening to Rachelle Wilson, coming in after Evangelist Dina for the Inspirational Gospel Hour. And we thank you for staying tuned in to WHGE 95.3 FM. This is radio that is educational, informational, and entertaining. We've got something good for your earbuds. You are now listening to Rachelle Wilson, and I am here for Make Some Intelligent Noise, the social justice and prison reform movement, here about humanitarian decency for those of our loved ones that are incarcerated behind the walls. I'm not going to take a lot of your time today. As it stands, I'm actually here. This will be my final report for the next 2 weeks, as I have been nonstop in this movement for the last 2 years, 2.5 years, nonstop, not a break, not a vacation, nothing. And I'd have to ask, how many people out there listening to the sound of my voice would walk away from a $30,000 a year job in order to start and create a movement to save their child? Trust me, I have all the empathy and the compassion necessary to understand what it feels like for your loved one, your soulmate, to be incarcerated. And so to all of the brothers and the sisters out there who have loved ones, perhaps someone you're engaged to be married to and they're incarcerated, and you're on this side of the wall waiting for them to come home. My heart and my compassion absolutely goes out to you. But I have to say, there is nothing that can equal or compare to your child, loved ones, aunties, uncles, boyfriends, fiancés, husbands, engagement persons, all of the loved ones, your mom, your dad. These are all very heartfelt, and I get it. But there is something very unique about a mother who has a child that is incarcerated, that separates that from every other love when you think of a loved one in the prisons behind the walls. There's a lot of work that has to be done. And when I first started this movement, it was really all about just me saving my son, my child. That's all I was thinking of, because I didn't realize how big this really is. Prison all across this nation is like a different society all within itself. There are rules and codes of conduct that people live by behind the walls, that we on this side, we may not get it. We may not understand it. We may not appreciate it. We may not even agree with it. But it's a rule and conduct of survival, a code that says how people have to live amongst themselves in order to survive the journey of incarceration. And so I am the mother of an incarcerated person. That cannot be compared to a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a sister, a brother, a auntie, a nephew, or anything. I feel that they're in a totally different lane. And as the mother of an incarcerated son, when I realized that this was so much bigger than just my son, I began to take on other people's concerns. I began to reach out my hand and extend and offer my hand of assistance to other families. Some I have been very successful in being able to offer that assistance and even help. Some families, people have reached out to me and there was nothing that I could do. But I assure you, it was not because of a lack of effort on my part. For every person that has reached out to me and told me their story and asked me for help, I have done what I could do, what I was able to do to help. And I apologize sincerely to those families that reached out and there was nothing I could do but offer my sincere, heartfelt understanding and compassion. As an advocate, it is my position to make relationships with the people that are sitting in the seats of authority and power, to make relationships with those persons so that I can advocate and assist actively for other families and other people. And so today's message, although it will be short, it is for everyone, for every incarcerated person in the nation, in the United States of America, and perhaps all over the world. But you've got to sweep off your own front steps before you can try to sweep off someone else's. And so I am here in the state of Delaware, and it is here that I build relationships with both families and loved ones of incarcerated people. I build relationships with incarcerated people. And I also build relationships with the people who sit in the seats of position of power and authority, advocating to the best of my ability to create humanitarian decency within the prisons. And so today's message is really very simplistic. As we see the news and the news media, which I take it with a grain of salt, recognizing that the news media, the biggest in the world, are also owned and dictated to by the powers of the very elite, the people who sit in the seats of elite decision making. They also own and operate all of our media sites. And so understanding that, recognizing that, overstanding it, I listen to their reports with a grain of salt. And I have suggested that you do the same. Don't just take it by what they say to you. Actually research it. Whatever it is that they are saying to us, we must research it for ourselves and seek authenticity to their reports. We are hearing in our news reports that the coronavirus of 2020, also known as COVID-19, we are hearing the reports that the second wave is now upon us. It has hit, and that people are literally dying. I have never, throughout the entire coronavirus, have I ever said that people are not truly getting sick and that people are not truly dying. I believe that is the truth. But I have also added to that the coronavirus, COVID-19, is not something that is new to any of us. And again, if we look at Barack Obama's report for 2016, he clearly tells us to be prepared for a pandemic should it come our way in the future. And less than 4 years, it's here. I've looked at the back of our Lysol cans and seen it states very clearly, kills the coronavirus. And that was on Lysol cans from 2015, 2014. So when I call the COVID-19, the coronavirus, a plandemic, I mean that. Sincerely mean it from the truth and the depths of my heart and my intelligence. Because I've done the research. And I thank God for good friends on Facebook who know that I'm not the smartest cookie in the jar. And so they gladly send me information of their research. And then I research that. And that can take me into hours of Googling and looking things up and going to the dictionary and researching information from the CDC and the World Health Organizations. And in coming to all of that research, yes, I am absolutely positive within myself that the coronavirus that we are all experiencing is not new, but was planned and implemented, put into place for a very particular purpose. A purpose that it is serving. If we have paid attention to Mr. Bill Gates, and we know of the history of his family lineage, and we see that since the beginning of the coronavirus, the words that have spoken and emitted from the mouth of Bill Gates has simply been vaccine, vaccine, vaccine. Now, both Moderna and Pfizer are promising us that they have a vaccine that is 95% accurate in protecting us from the coronavirus, the flu with SARS. That's pretty much what it is. It's a flu that has been mixed or mingled with the SARS virus, which is making it so deadly to people who are healthy. But mostly it is affecting people who have a compromised immunodeficiency, a immune system deficiency, and of course our seniors. It highly affects our brown communities, black, brown, and golden, because of the lack of health care that we have in our communities. Many people in brown families cannot afford to have a regular primary doctor. And so what happens to them if they can't go to doctors regularly? And so this is one of the reasons that it is so prominent in our brown community. But my message today is about the second wave, as many of us have survived the first wave. And the second wave is promising to be even more deadly than the first. Well, I have comments about that, but I won't go into them. I'll simply encourage you to do the research. But I pose this question. We're all putting on masks. They're closing down restaurants in terms of dine-in restaurants in Philadelphia, New Jersey, and I'm sure Delaware will be close to follow. Baltimore, the harbor, all of our public venues, all of our social venues outside of the park and a few other places outdoors, they're closing them down, preparing for the second wave. But what happens to our incarcerated loved ones who are behind the walls, They cannot be 6 feet apart and social distance. They do not have daily cleaning and daily bleaching. And although I have done some research with some of the families from Facebook that keep in touch with me, some reports are saying that in those buildings, say Building W, perhaps, here at Smyrna, we have a prison in Delaware called Smyrna. We also have one called SCI, Sussex Correctional Institute. We have Howard R. Young, Gander, also known as Gander Hill. And of course, Baylor Women's Correctional Facility. I'll never know why they call them correctional, but that's another conversation for another day. What I will say is that all of the prisons in the state of Delaware, certain buildings are being cleaned, disinfected, decontaminated regularly. They're cleaned, and other buildings, depending on where people are located, I'm getting reports from family members that they are not being cleaned daily and regularly. That they're not even using actual bleach, Clorox, or any other form of bleach, a non-name brand. They're using something called Correct Pack, CORRECT Correct Pack. Well, when I tried to do a Google to find out what the ingredients are inside of the Correct Pack, I did not see anywhere that it states the word bleach. I didn't see that word. And please feel free to check me. You do a Google research on Correct Pack cleaning, sanitizing solution, and tell me, does it have bleach in it? My research says it does not. We all know that bleach will kill the coronavirus on surfaces, etc. The Lysol will kill the coronavirus on surfaces. We know that the Microban will kill the coronavirus on surfaces for 24 hours. All of these products that I have just mentioned kills the coronavirus. And it is my understanding to the last report that none of these products, Lysol, bleach, or Microban, are being used inside of the housing units of the prison. Perhaps they're being used on the door handles outside, around the workers' stations, the guards, the correctional officers' stations, and perhaps near the warden and all of the people that work with the warden. Perhaps these products are being used on that level. But I am of the opinion, based on the people who were inside, behind the walls, the offenders, you would call them, their families are reaching out to me to express their heartfelt sympathy and compassion for my situation, that my son was put into the quarantine for flu-like symptoms, to which I praise God that a particular person, a friend, a confidant, a comrade, a strong person, a woman, was able to reach out on my behalf for my son and check on him and have him monitored. The report has come back that my son is doing extremely well. He called a family member yesterday, alhamdulillah, all praises to Allah. He was able to get a phone call out to a family member yesterday, stating to them that his chest congestion has eased up. He is now coughing and excrementing all of the virus, the flu, from his body. He's feeling much better. Now, he was tested positive for COVID-19 inside of the prison approximately 2 weeks, 3 weeks after a person, another offender was put in his cell. Where that offender came from, I cannot answer that question. But they were put into the cell where my son is located. And 3 weeks later, my son is sneezing and coughing and short of breath and is tested for corona, and it came up positive. Now, I believe there are a lot of false positives out there based on which test is implemented. But whether it was a false positive or an actual positive, either way, they put my son into the quarantine for COVID-19. To which yesterday we received a report from a family member. He was able to get a call through saying he's feeling much better and is hopeful that they will take him out of that quarantine building and put him into a clean location, a safe and clean location. The good news is my son happens to be a very clean person. He was raised that way. My mother raised me that way. I raised him that way. That's the way we believe in doing things. Clean up behind yourself. Make your bed every morning. Wash your face. Brush your teeth. Take care of your hygiene. And so understanding that the coronavirus is inside of the prison with very little social distancing, my son cleans his cell every single day with the stuff that is provided to him, which is called Correct Pack. Correct Pack. And this is what he uses. All over his cell, door handles, bedposts, lights, you name it, the toilet, everything. Even after the new person was put into his cell, he continued to maintain his daily cleansing. But something didn't work out. He's in the quarantine. And my son is not the only person in the quarantine, which we pray Justin, my son Justin, will be allowed to come home, or at least out of the quarantine and into a better cell, and that they will continue to do cleaning and bleaching, decontamination, disinfectant every day. Bleach it down, clean it up. What do I have to say? What do I need to do in order to plead or ask or request or demand that this is done? But here's the situation. It is my comprehension based on what other people have told me, because I haven't spoken with my son. So this information is not coming from my son. It's coming from other families that are reaching out to me via Messenger on my Facebook page. And you can do that as well. If you would like to reach out to me on Facebook via Messenger, please become my friend. Rachelle Wilson, make some intelligent noise. There we will be friends, and you can message me if you have something important to tell me. But it is through those families that they are sharing with me that some buildings are being cleaned, some are not on a daily basis, but it is the guards, the correctional officers, who are bringing it in by leaving the building and coming back in, whoever they are doing or whoever they're socializing with when they are not inside of the prison. When they come back into the prison, they are bringing coronavirus in with them. Their temperatures are being taken at the check-in point when they check in for work, for their shift. Their temperatures are being taken, but they are not being swabbed, nasal swabbed, and tested for the coronavirus every time they come in to work. So whatever they're doing on the outside, when they come into the walls of the prison, whatever they did outside, they're bringing that into the walls. Think about it. Logical sense would tell us the people that are incarcerated are in, so they have no way out. So it is contained. And if they are putting people into this quarantine area, if they're testing positive, you're putting them into the quarantine. The other people are not exhibiting any symptoms or any conditions of COVID-19, 20, 21. then how is it that people who are not associating with those in quarantine, how are they contracting the COVID-19 virus, the coronavirus? How are they getting it? Logical sense would tell us it's got to be coming in from the outside. The correctional officers that come in from their outside life into the workplace, the prison, they are bringing in the virus. And people are getting sick. I don't even want to begin to think about people dying, but people have died in the prisons. And I pray that my son will not die in prison. By the protection and the perfect grace of that which is greater than myself, I pray that my son returns home safely to me and his children very, very soon. But while he is there, until he is able to come home, what is the Department of Corrections for the state of Delaware doing to protect our loved ones inside the prisons? This is my question. Many people reach out to me for help, and I do the best that I'm able to do as a single one-woman show to advocate and to help, even in private conversations. Because much of what I do as an advocate is not done out in public in the streets. This, the radio, and my Facebook and YouTube, my Instagram, my website, these are my public venues. But most of my most efficient and impactful work that I do is done behind the curtain in private conversations with the powers that be. That's my way to advocate, and that's what I do. And so I am reaching out to you, the listening audience, and asking you now to help me to advocate to the powers that be. I'm asking you to send an email to Commissioner Claire DeMatteis, to Governor John Carney. These are the two people that have the authority with the stroke of their pen to make changes inside of the prison. And I'm asking you, the listening audience, to send an email to both of them asking, demanding, requesting, petitioning for daily cleaning with bleach, and to please test the correctional officers that come into the building to work their shift. Do not allow them to work their shift if they are coming up COVID positive, because they are bringing the virus into the building and they are making the offenders sick. Now, I've heard Claire DeMatteis say in an interview many, many moons ago, but it was this year, 2020, that the healthcare system inside of the prison is better than most healthcare systems outside of the prison. No comment except this. If it is that good of a healthcare system inside of the Department of Corrections, then I implore you, Commissioner Claire DeMatteis, please take care of those that are sick. Get them the proper medical attention, nurses and doctors and medicine that they need in order to survive this. This isn't just about more lawsuits, more families suing the Department of Correction and the state of Delaware and Governor John Carney. This isn't just about that, because lawsuits will never bring back our loved ones if they die of this virus while incarcerated. So this is beyond the lawsuits. This is about answering to a higher calling, a greater being of power and authority that even you, my dear Commissioner Claire DeMattheis and beloved Governor John Carney, that even you cannot contend with. Save lives. Get the proper medical attention inside the building. Test the guards before you allow them into the building when they have been out. Do not allow them to work the shift and go and be with the people who are called the offenders inside of the housing units. Something has got to be done, because out here on this side of the wall, all of the governors across America are closing the states down. Museums are closed. Schools are being closed down. Our children's extracurricular activities are being shut down. The Boys and Girls Clubs of America, they're being shut down. All of the places, the venues for our children are being shut down, and they're being forced pretty much to quarantine in the house with their family or be left to the wiles of roaming the streets all day and all night. Because trust me, there are some students that will not get on their Zoom computers, and they are not going to go to class. If mom is at work, dad is at work, whoever is at work or not attending to them, looking over their shoulder, they are not going to get on their Zoom pads and go to class. In my day, we called it hookieing class, skipping class. I don't know what to call it nowadays, but the children will not go. There will be some that will run the streets and get involved in activities that are not healthy and not conducive for them or their family. The governors across America are shutting the states down prospectively. But what is being done to protect the loved ones behind the walls? And that is my message and my question for the day. So I'm asking you, the listening audience, to everyone within the sound of my voice, grab your computer, your tablet, your cell phone, send the governor of your prospective state. Here it's in Delaware, it's John Carney. But whatever state you were in, if you were watching me on Facebook or if you were listening to me on YouTube, whoever the governor of your state is, the commissioner for the Department of Corrections for your state, send them an email by groves, masses and groves, hundreds and thousands, please. Demand daily bleaching and cleaning and testing of the correctional officers, because they are putting our loved ones at risk. Now, I know that there are many people who do not even give a crap. They don't give a darn about incarcerated people. You feel that they're less than human beings. They've done a crime. They've committed an infraction. Let them rot in hell in the prisons. We don't care. Let them stay there. But you're not recognizing how much it's costing you every year, how many of your tax dollars are being spent to house people every single day inside of America's prisons. You think about that the next time you say, let them all rot in hell. You're paying for it. You are paying for it in more ways than one. The people that have less than 2 months to go and they're going to be released anyway, let them go now. Give them an early release. Let them out. It's one less person that the Department of Corrections has to be concerned about. Let them go. They've only got 2 months, 60 days, 90 days left on their sentence. Let them go. Get them out. Let them go home where they can be safe and quarantine with their families. Let them out. Let them go. And that's my message for today. The station manager has brought something into me, so Just give me a moment. Monday testing sites. Oh, Monday testing sites. What is this saying? Okay. So Monday testing site. I don't have my glasses on. Please forgive me, listening audience. I apologize for that. I do not have on my spectacles, and my eyesight has changed since I was age 25. But it looks like it is saying Frawley Stadium, Congo Funeral Home, and of course so that's Frawley Stadium. Call the Frawley Stadium, also Congo Funeral Home. Both of those are from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. Frawley Stadium is until 7 p.m. But you can give them a call. Just do a quick Google search and the phone number should come right up. But they are doing free COVID testing. If you would like to know what your status is in regards to the COVID-19, 16, 17, 18, and 19, then you can check and find out if you are positive or perhaps you are negative. But also, in closing, 2 quick statements, and I'll be out of your hair for today. And as I've stated, we'll have my dear friend, Sister Abundance Child from the Drop Squad Kitchen and the writer of The Emancipator. I'm asking her to fill in for me next Sunday, and she will be very informative, very educational, and I assure you, very entertaining. She is no rookie at radio, television, and broadcasting, so I assure you I leave you in excellent hands, as well as my dear friend and new author and advocate, Timeless Thomas. Everything you need to know about jail. 101 things you need to know about jail from beginning to end, and has his own podcasting station as well. So they will be filling in for me for the next 2 Sundays, and then I will be back with a report, something great to tell you, something good for your ears. But today I need to step back. For 2 weeks, I need some time to step back. I wouldn't call it a vacation because that's not what I'll be doing, is vacationing. I'll actually be working for my very first time on writing a piece of legislation, something that I am not familiar with, but I am learning how to do, and I need to focus and zero in on that legislation. So actually it's 2 pieces that I'm writing, and I'd like to have that ready by 2021, the first month of 2021, January of 2021. And so I need to get really focused. In order to write that legislation, I have to study and read and research how to write legislation. And there's some other components that go along with that. So I'm just taking some time from radio, from advertising, Facebook, you name it. Unless something really important is going on, I'm just going to kind of ease behind the black curtain for maybe 2 weeks and learn how to write legislation, because that's something very, very important that needs to be done. And since no one else has addressed it, I will do it myself. And I'll take a shot and we'll see how good I am. Perhaps I'm a failure. Perhaps I will be successful. We won't know until I get it done. But at any rate, I want to leave by saying to my dear friend Joyce, I never not want to. I always want to, Joyce. I always want to. And that's an inside joke between Joyce and myself. But also yesterday I attended the funeral of a friend for 43 years. Someone that I met, was 14 years old, and I was quite a bit of a whippersnapper back in my youth, in my heydays. At age 14, I was just a little bit wayward, as they would say, the language might be. And there, from William Penn High School, I was kicked out and sent to an alternative school. But I assure you, alternative school back then was not like the alternative schools of today with Ferris and Newcastle County Detention Center. Totally different energy and situation back then. But I was sent to an alternative school, and there I met a dear friend who could sing. And we became good friends, really good friends, never lovers or anything intimate. We never dated. It was nothing like that, but just solid friends. We were of kindred minds. You know, he was ornery as all get up and go, and so was I. And we became friends. But I think our friendship was solidified on the night. About a month or 2 months after we both had been placed into this alternative school location, we decided to make a great escape. And we did not get over the fence at that time, but it was a joke between us that lasted forever. I think he tore his shirt, I tore mine. It was a mess. And we were caught and taken back to our prospective cottages. But that friend was my friend for 43 years. His name was Michael Anthony Johnson. I love Michael. I love Mike. We had our fair share of shenanigans, you know, even as grown-ups, you know, because life takes you and separates you, and then you run into each other at the gas station or the corner store, and you're like, hey, how have you been? Oh my God, I haven't seen you in so long, and whatever. And before you know it, you're back in cahoots. And so we've had our fair share of cahoots and shenanigans, even as adults. But a life took us and separated us once again as adults. And I didn't see Mike for many, many years. And then when we did come back into friendship, it was only when I found out that he was extremely, extremely sick and very, very ill. And we buried him yesterday. We gave him a king's royal funeral where they placed a microphone in his hand and a crown upon his head. And he is certainly justly worthy of that. And so in leaving, I just want to say, again, honor your friendships. There have been so many people in my life that I have loved and trusted, sisters and elders that I believed in and loved them. And things happen as adults, and before you know it, there's a misunderstanding, and people choose not to speak to each other anymore or for a period of time, because forgiveness, it takes time for some of us to forgive when we've been betrayed by a loved one or hurt deeply by someone that we call sister friend or brother friend or just friend. It takes time to heal from that. And I'll tell you, it takes time for me, because I love very, very deeply. And the people that I call sister and the people that I have called brother, I take that to heart. And so to be betrayed by that or infracted upon in that, it takes time to forgive and to heal. But I will say, this is the second dearest friend that I've had to bury this year. The first one was Tyler Brooks. TY stands for thank you. And he is the person who helped me to create this movement. In just sitting around in conversations, I would ask, well, how do I do this? And how do I do that? And where should I go? And what should I do? And he would say, it's a movement. It's a movement. And for Michael Johnson, it was always a laugh. He always had something funny to say, no matter how bad I was feeling, no matter how much of a failure I may have felt as if I was. He would always have something funny and humorous to say that made me feel better. And so I just want to say, honor your friends. You know, do not betray them. Do not belittle them. Honor them. Love them. Nourish them. Nurture them. Because tomorrow is not promised. You do not know for sure that the friend that you love today will still be here tomorrow to make you laugh or to make you feel better or just someone to talk to. So honor them while they're here, while they are alive, you know, because Tomorrow is just not promised. So I wanted to leave you with some of Mike's music, but unfortunately I'm not able to pull it up. It's not coming up, and I do not understand why I can't get it at the moment. I wanted to leave you with some of the soulful sounds of Michael Anthony Johnson. But since I am not able to do that, I will simply tell you this. Evil can only prevail when good people do absolutely nothing. If you're sitting there waiting for somebody else to fix it and make it right, it may never get done. Pick up your arms. Get in the movement. Join. If you don't want to join the movement and stand with me, that's fine. Join the movement somewhere with somebody. Get involved in a church, a synagogue, a masjid, whatever it takes. Please get involved. Send emails and letters to our elected officials, our public servants. Tell them that you will stand with them for reform, for prison reform, and for social justice reform. Black lives matter. Children matter. Closing down schools and community centers and giving our children nothing to do but leave them to the wiles of their imagination. We are destroying our children. We are setting them up for failure. I find it most interesting that all year long we have been dealing with gunshots and fire and gangs and young people killing each other and so much death and destruction here in the city of Wilmington and even Newark, Delaware, and other parts of the state of Delaware, until Joe Biden, President-elect Joe Biden, shows up here in Wilmington for quite a lengthy stay. And now all of those children that were shooting and hurting and killing each other, they're now either incarcerated or I don't even know where they are, but the streets are quiet. Because Joe Biden came in town, the streets are quiet. Why wait until President-elect comes to Delaware to clean up our streets, to help save our young people? And so now all of those that you were waiting for them to turn 18, they've turned 18. Now you've went, knocked on their door, and you've arrested them and incarcerated them. You've gotten them off the street. You've cleaned up the streets for President-elect Joe Biden. Well, I'm not against you cleaning up the streets for President-elect Joe Biden. I think that's fabulous. But how about cleaning up the streets for us? How about saving our children before President-elect Biden comes to town? I don't understand. I just don't understand. I don't get it. We've got to do something to save our children, because if we don't, and it's all by design, they will kill themselves off, because many of them are, as Richard Ross says, they are our soldiers. They are the military to the brown communities. They simply are killing the wrong enemy, each other. Save our children. Get involved. Don't sit back and wait for somebody else to do it because you're so tied up in your own personal life that you're not willing to make any sacrifices. I stepped away from a $30,000 a year job as a substitute high school teacher. I stepped away to start a movement, and I can't begin to tell you the attacks that I have suffered, the financial deprivation that I have been dealing with without being employed. This is what I do. I committed my entire life, my entire heartbeat, my whole existence to this movement, taking odd jobs here and there just to survive. But now 2021 is coming in, and I cannot continue to do it the way that I have done it. I've got to change something. And I know what has to change. So I need a little bit of time to take to myself, to get my personal affairs in order, as well as write some legislation that will hopefully, prayerfully, will help all of the incarcerated people at least here in the state of Delaware. So, until I return, as I've stated, I will leave you in very comparable and qualified hands, those of professionals, Abundance Child from the Drop Squad Kitchen, the Emancipator. She's had her own radio station, her own podcast. She knows what she's doing. She will bring you the information, as well as Timeless Thomas, a new author and about to go on tour for his new books, 101 Things That You Need to Know About Jail. His book is out there, and he has his own podcast, and I believe that these two friends will enlighten you, inform you, educate you, and entertain you in my absence. And then I'll be back to advocate and get on your nerves as much as I possibly can. Until then, my dear friends, my listening audience, I pray you well, sincerely well, and I pray that you will do the same for me and for my family as I continue in this movement to advocate and be the voice of the voiceless. You're listening to Rachelle Wilson. Make some intelligent noise. Wonderful day to all. Peace and grace.